I'd learned to say I'm fine in 4 months of therapy, and the night he hit me, I said enough when a slap across my face in front of my mother didn't break me. My therapist's words made me stand up. When I opened my phone, Rick's life took a turn. He thought I'd stay silent like always. He didn't know my doorbell was watching, and the law was too. When that doorbell rang, the number 8 cuffs clicked as precisely as the notification sound. My name is Harper Lane, and I've been invisible in my own family for 14 years. Not the kind of invisible where they don't see you, the kind where they see you just enough to know where to land the next blow. It started with small things. Rick would snatch my car keys from the counter when I needed to leave for work at Northridge Veterans Clinic. "You don't need to drive today," he'd say, jingling them like a dog trainer with treats. "Your mother needs the car more." My mother, who worked from home. My mother, who had her own vehicle parked right outside on West Cedar Drive. The comments about my body came next. "Maybe lay off the carbs, Harper," he'd mutter when I reached for bread at dinner. "No man wants a woman who can't control herself." This from a man whose gut hung over his work belt, whose HVAC uniform stretched tight across his middle. But I'd learned early that Rick's rules never applied to Rick. My paychecks became his favorite topic. "Revenue cycle specialist," he'd sneer, making air quotes. "Fancy title for someone who makes less than a real tradesman. I pull in more in a month than you see in 3. He wasn't wrong about the money, but he was wrong about everything else. I processed millions in medical billing, kept the entire clinic's finances running. But to Rick, I was just playing secretary. The family dinners were performances in humiliation. I'd arrive with homemade desserts that would sit untouched while everyone raved about Tessa's store-bought cupcakes. I'd clear tables while my younger sister held court about her startup marketing wins. Rick would clap me on the shoulder hard enough to leave marks and announce, "At least Harper knows her place in this family." 3 birthdays forgotten in a row. Not forgotten, exactly dismissed. This year, I'd walked in to find them planning Tessa's promotion party on my actual birthday. When I mentioned it, Mom just waved her hand. "Oh, Harper, you're 31. Birthdays don't matter after 25. But Tessa was 24, and her half-birthday warranted a catered brunch. I remember the paper towel with the blood spot from 2 months ago, when Rick's playful shove sent me into the corner of the kitchen island. My nose bled for 20 minutes. Mom handed me the towel without looking up from her phone. "Accidents happen," she said. The same words she'd used when I was 17 and Rick first pushed me into the pantry door. The bruise lasted 2 weeks. The excuses lasted 14 years. That night, I stood in my apartment bathroom at 11:45 p.m., cataloging the fresh bruises on my upper arms, 5 distinct fingerprints on each bicep where he'd grabbed me to move me out of the way. I'd started taking photos 6 months ago, building a collection I didn't yet know how to use. My phone gallery had become a museum of purple and yellow souvenirs, each tagged with dates and explanations I typed through tears. The breaking point wasn't the violence. It was Tessa's casual cruelty the next morning. "You're too sensitive, Harper," she said, scrolling through her Instagram comments. "Rick's just old school. You take everything so personally." I made the therapy appointment that afternoon. Dr. Nora Wild's office became my Thursday 3 p.m. sanctuary. For 4 months, I thought I was learning to cope. I thought I was learning to say I'm fine more convincingly. I didn't realize I was actually learning to say enough. The half-made casserole from last night's dinner still sits in my refrigerator, the one I'd brought to another family meal where I became the meal instead. Rick's words still echo. "This family listens to me." He was right. They did listen to him. But soon, everyone else would be listening to me. "Let's talk about your safety plan," Dr. Nora Wild said during our 2nd month of sessions. She had that therapist way of making terrifying statements sound like grocery lists. "Not if you need it. When you need it." She taught me the basics first. A go bag hidden at work, copies of my birth certificate, social security card, passport, 2 changes of clothes, $500 cash in small bills, a backup hard drive. "Never at home," she emphasized. Never where he can find it. The code system came next. Mrs. Marla Green, my 70-year-old neighbor with the prized rose garden, became my first ally. If I text you about borrowing sugar, you're fine, I explained to her one Saturday morning. If I text about borrowing flour, call 911 immediately. Marla didn't ask questions. She'd been married 3 times. She knew the look in my eyes. North Carolina is a one-party consent state, Nora informed me during week 10. You can legally record any conversation you're part of. She pulled up the statutes on her laptop, turned the screen toward me. Document everything, every bruise, every threat, every incident, time, date, location, witnesses. I changed every password that night. Banking, email, social media, medical portals. Everything became a random string of characters stored in an encrypted app. My phone became a weapon of documentation. I downloaded 3 different recording apps, set them to activate with subtle gestures, a triple tap on my pocket, a long press on my earbuds. The smart doorbell installation was my first act of offensive defense. I bought one for Marla, told her it was for package thieves. She was delighted. I installed my own the same day, angled to capture the hallway and my door. Every person who approached would be recorded, time-stamped, uploaded to the cloud. Practice with me, Nora said during month 3. She stood up, moved into my space. I'm Rick. I'm angry. I'm coming at you. My body went rigid. No, Harper, this is practice. Show me how you move. We rehearsed for weeks. Keep furniture between us. Never let him block the exit. Phone in left pocket. Keys in right, weapons of distraction if needed. Don't fight to win, she coached. Fight to escape. Your goal is evidence and survival, not victory. She taught me verbal de-escalation, though we both knew it rarely worked with men like Rick. Short sentences, no emotion. I need to leave. Not, you're scaring me. Don't give him your fear, it's fuel. The breakthrough came in week 14. I was researching something else entirely, looking up Rick's HVAC licensing for my mother who'd asked about his certification renewals. That's when I found it a temporary restraining order from 8 years ago, Rebecca Morrison versus Richard Mallory. The order had been dissolved after 2 months, but the initial filing was damning. Harassment, stalking, assault. My mother had married him 3 years later. He's done this before, I told Nora at our next session, sliding the printout across her desk. She studied it carefully. This changes our approach. He's escalated before. He knows the system. She looked up at me. But the system knows him too. We spent the next 2 sessions refining the plan. I created detailed timelines dating back 5 years, cross-referenced with medical records from urgent care visits I'd claimed were clumsy accidents. The recording system expanded. I bought a pen camera, a button recorder, backup batteries for everything. You need to understand something, Nora said during our final planning session. Once you activate this plan, there's no going back. He will escalate. The danger will spike before it drops. Are you prepared for that? I thought about 14 years of shrinking myself, of birthday cakes never bought, of bruises explained away, of my mother's eyes sliding past my pain like it was wallpaper. I'm prepared, I said. One more thing. Nora pulled out a business card. Detective Luis Ortega, Buncombe County Domestic Violence Unit. When you're ready, he's who you call, not 911, him directly. I tucked the card behind my driver's license. 4 months of therapy hadn't taught me to be fine with being hit. It taught me to be ready when he did it again. Sunday dinner at 7 p.m. sharp. The text from Mom made it sound optional, but nothing in the Mallory house was ever optional when Rick decided. Help with cleanup for Tessa's celebration, she'd written. Always Tessa's celebration. Always me doing the cleanup. I arrived at 6:45 p.m., parking where my car faced the street. Nora's rule number 3 always position for quick exit. The house smelled like pot roast and superiority. Rick was already 3 beers deep. His face flushed that particular shade of red that meant trouble was brewing. Look who decided to grace us with her presence. He slurred from his recliner throne. The big-shot medical professional. Tessa was live streaming from the kitchen, showing her followers how to arrange grocery store flowers like they were something special. Mom fluttered between them like a moth, drawn to whichever light burned brightest. Spoiler, it was never mine. "Harper, table needs setting," Mom called without looking at me. Of course it did. I moved through the familiar routine plates, silverware, napkins folded just so. Rick's commentary followed me like smoke. "Watch those plates. They cost more than you make in a day." They were from Target. I'd bought them for Mom 2 Christmases ago. Dinner started with Tessa's announcement about her latest client win. Some local brewery wanted her to manage their social media. "They said I have an authentic voice," she beamed, phone propped against the water pitcher to catch her good angle. "That's my girl," Rick boomed, raising his beer. "Success runs in this family." "In some of us," I said quietly, cutting my meat. The room went silent except for Tessa's live stream audio. Rick's chair scraped against hardwood. "What was that?" "Nothing." No. He was standing now, moving toward me. "You got something to say, Harper, about success." Mom's eyes stayed fixed on her plate. Tessa kept streaming, narrating about family dinners bringing everyone together. "I said it's nice that success runs in the family." I kept my voice level, hand sliding to my left pocket. Triple tap. Recording started. Bullshit. Huh. Rick was behind me now, breath hot with alcohol and rage. "You think you're better than us." His hand clamped on my wrist, yanking me sideways. "When I talk, you look at me." "Let go." Short sentence. No emotion. "This family listens to me." His grip tightened, fingernails digging crescents into my skin. Then came the impact. Not a slap or a punch. He slammed my head sideways into the dining table edge. The room exploded in stars and sound. I heard Tessa gasp, heard her say, "Oh my God," but the phone kept recording, kept streaming. I didn't fight. I let my body go limp, let him think he'd won. My right hand found my phone, activated the video through muscle memory. The pen camera in my shirt pocket was already running. "Drama queen," Rick muttered, releasing me. "Can't even handle a little discipline." My face throbbed. Blood dripped from somewhere nose or lip. I couldn't tell. Mom finally looked up, her expression more annoyed than concerned. She grabbed paper towels, handed them over without meeting my eyes. Tessa's live stream had shifted angles, catching the whole room now. She didn't even realize. Her followers were commenting frantically. I saw the notifications piling up on her screen. She was too busy trying to redirect their attention to notice she'd just broadcasted my assault to 400 people. I stood slowly, phone video catching Rick's satisfied smirk. "I need to use the bathroom." "You need to apologize," he said. "I need to use the bathroom," I repeated, backing toward the hallway. In the powder room, I sent the coded text to Marla. "Flour needed, 10 minutes if no response." Then I photographed my face, the swelling already starting. Blood crusted under my nose. The perfect imprint of the table edge across my cheekbone. My phone buzzed. Marla. Timer set. Be safe. 7 minutes left. I could hear Rick getting another beer. Hear Mom telling Tessa to stop being so dramatic about a little family disagreement. I pulled up Detective Ortega's number but didn't dial. Not yet. Tonight was just evidence gathering. The real show hadn't started. When I returned to the dining room, Tessa had ended her live stream. 43 missed comments asking if I was okay. She was deleting them one by one, her face pale. "Harper," Rick said, not looking up from his plate. "You're done eating. Clean up and go." I started clearing dishes, each movement calculated. The pen camera caught him pulling me back by my shirt when I passed. The audio recorder caught his whisper. "Next time you disrespect me, you won't walk away." My phone buzzed. Marla, status. I replied, "Safe, leaving now." But I wasn't leaving. Not really. I was just getting started. That night changed everything. Not because Rick hit me, he'd done that before, but because this time, Tessa's live stream had caught it. The internet had seen it, and most importantly, I'd documented every second. The last time had finally begun. Monday morning at 7:30 a.m. I walked into Northridge Veterans Clinic with my face telling a story I didn't need to speak. The bruising had bloomed overnight purple, spreading into green. The table edge's impact painted across my cheekbone like a topographic map of violence. Jesus Christ, Harper! Sylvia, our head nurse, stopped mid-stride. 20 years of emergency medicine had trained her eyes to catalog injuries. Treatment room 3. Now! She didn't ask what happened. She knew better. Instead, she became a forensic photographer, documenting what Rick had done with clinical precision. Turn left, now right. Chin up, look straight ahead. The camera clicked repeatedly, each image tagged with measurements from the ruler she held beside each bruise. This is textbook assault documentation, Sylvia muttered, uploading the photos to a secure drive. Forensic nursing standards. These will hold up anywhere court, insurance claims, wherever you need them. At 9:15 a.m., I sat in the Buncombe County Courthouse, filling out the forms for a domestic violence protective order, the 50B, that Nora had prepared me for. Each question had an answer backed by evidence. Previous incidents I attached to the timeline, 5 years of dated entries. Physical evidence, 23 photographs, including Sylvia's professional documentation. Witnesses. Mrs. Marla Green's contact information went on line 1. The clerk's expression shifted as she reviewed my file. You've been thorough, she said quietly. Judge Morrison is reviewing emergency orders at 2 p.m. today. Can you wait? I could wait. I'd been waiting 14 years. Detective Luis Ortega met me in the courthouse cafeteria at noon. He was younger than I'd expected, maybe 35, with the kind of tired eyes that came from seeing too much of humanity's worst. Dr. Wilde spoke highly of your preparation, he said, reviewing my evidence folder. This recording from last night, the threat is explicit. You won't walk away. That's actionable. There's more. I pulled up Tessa's live stream, screenshot after screenshot of viewer comments timestamped during the assault. 400 witnesses who saw it happen in real time. Ortega whistled low. Your sister posted this. She didn't realize what she was broadcasting. She's already deleted the video, but I screen captured everything first. Smart. He pulled out his tablet, started a formal report. Here's what happens next. The emergency order will likely be granted today. Rick will be served, probably at his workplace tomorrow. He'll have 10 days to request a hearing. He'll request one immediately, I said. Rick doesn't back down. Good. That's when we nail him. Ortega's smile was sharp. Men like him always think they can talk their way out. They usually talk themselves into handcuffs instead. At 2:45 p.m., Judge Morrison granted the temporary restraining order, effective immediately. Rick Mallory could not come within 500 feet of me, my home, or my workplace. No contact calls, texts, third-party messages. Nothing. One more thing, I told Ortega as we left the courthouse. I need him to violate this order. He stopped walking. I can't advise you to. I'm not asking for advice. I'm telling you what he'll do. Rick doesn't recognize authority unless it's his own. When he violates this order, and he will, I want to make sure it sticks. Ortega studied me for a long moment. You've thought this through. For 4 months. Then you need a controlled situation. Somewhere public enough for safety, private enough for him to feel emboldened, and you need witnesses he doesn't know are watching. That evening at 8 p.m., I installed a new app on my phone, automatic cloud backup every 30 seconds. Every photo, every recording, every text message would be preserved instantly, untouchable even if Rick destroyed my phone. I also made a purchase that would become crucial, a tiny GPS tracker, the kind people used for lost keys. Magnetic backing, battery life of 3 weeks, small enough to slip onto Rick's truck during a casual family encounter. The text from Mom came at 9:12 p. What have you done? Rick is getting papers tomorrow. This is destroying our family. I didn't respond. Instead, I typed a different message, saved in drafts. Mom, I'll come talk on Thursday evening, but only if it's just you and Tessa. Rick cannot be there due to the protective order. I'd send it Tuesday night, after Rick was served, after he'd had time to rage, after Mom had time to choose her usual side. The trap was set. All the actors knew their roles, even if they didn't know they were performing. Rick would violate the order his ego demanded it. Mom would enable him, her denial required it. Tessa would document it, her social media addiction guaranteed it. And I would be ready with receipts for everything. The timeline Dr. Wilde had helped me create filled 3 pages now, single-spaced. Each incident coded by type V for verbal, P for physical, F for financial control. The pattern was clear escalation every 3 to 4 months, usually around Tessa's achievements or my attempts at independence. We were due for another escalation. But this time, I wasn't going to absorb it. This time, I was going to weaponize it. Tuesday night, after Rick had been served at his workplace in front of his crew, Ortega made sure of that Mom called 17 times. I let each ring go to voicemail, documenting her increasing hysteria. By Wednesday morning, her tactics shifted. Please, Harper. Her text read, Tessa's award ceremony is Thursday. We need to talk as a family before then. Just come to the house Thursday at 6 p.m. We can work this out like adults. I waited until Wednesday at 3 p.m. to respond. I'll come Thursday, but only if it's just you and Tessa. Rick cannot be present due to the protective order. Please confirm in writing that he will not be there. Her response was immediate. Of course, just us girls. I promise. I screenshot everything, forwarded it to Ortega with a simple note. She's lying. Thursday at 4:30 p.m. I met Mrs. Marla Green in her driveway. I need a favor, I said, handing her a plate of brownies I'd baked as cover. Can you park your car across the street from my mother's house tonight? You're visiting your friend Dorothy. Remember, Marla's friend Dorothy had been dead 3 years, but the neighbors didn't know that. What time, dear? 5:45. And Marla. I showed her my phone screen. The emergency contact pulled up. If you see Rick's truck, call this number immediately. She patted my hand. I'll bring my knitting. Dorothy and I used to knit for hours. At 5 p.m., I drove past Mom's house. Rick's truck wasn't there yet, but I knew his patterns. He got off work at 5:30, home by 6:15 if he stopped for beer. Mom had asked me to come at 6. The timing wasn't coincidental. I reached under his usual parking spot's fence, where he always scraped the bumper turning in. The magnetic GPS tracker attached to his truck's frame with a soft click 2 days ago when I'd retrieved my forgotten jacket from Mom's garage. My phone showed his location, Murphy's liquor store, 4 miles away. At 5:50 p.m., I texted Nora, entering situation, recording devices active. Her response was immediate. Safety plan active. Remember evidence, not confrontation. I parked 3 houses down, walked to Mom's front door at 5:58. Marla's sedan was positioned perfectly, her dash cam aimed at the driveway. Through the window, I could see her needles moving steadily. Mom opened the door before I knocked. Harper, thank God. Come in. We need to. Is Rick here? I asked loudly. Clearly. No, of course not. I promised. I stepped inside but stayed by the door. Phone recording in my left pocket, pen camera active. Tessa was on the couch, her phone propped on the coffee table, not live streaming yet, but ready. This is destroying him, Mom started immediately. A restraining order. At his work, do you know what his boss said? I know what Rick did to my face, I replied, staying calm. It was an accident. Mom, Tessa interrupted, looking uncomfortable. It wasn't. I watched the live stream playback before I deleted it. He grabbed her. Mom's face went hard. Family business stays in the family. My phone vibrated. The GPS app showed Rick's truck 2 blocks away. I moved closer to the door. angling my body so the pen camera would catch both the entrance and the living room. I should go, I said. We can talk another time? No. Why, Mom grabbed my arm. You're not leaving until this is resolved. Rick's truck pulled into the driveway at 6:14 p.m. You promised he wouldn't be here. I said it loud enough for the recording, clear enough for court. Mom's expression flickered guilt, then defiance. This is his house too. Through the window, I saw Marla already on her phone. The front door opened at 6:16. Rick filled the doorframe, beer bottle in hand, face red with rage and alcohol. There's the ungrateful bitch who's trying to ruin my life. You can't be here, I stated clearly. There's a protective order. Fuck your order. He stepped inside, slamming the door behind him. This is my house. I backed toward the kitchen, keeping furniture between us as Nora had taught me. I'm leaving. The hell you are. He moved faster than his bulk suggested, cutting off my path. You're going to call that detective and tell him you lied. Tessa's phone was recording now. I saw the red light, but she was frozen, afraid to draw his attention. I documented everything. Rick, photos, recordings, witnesses. His face went purple. You recorded me. North Carolina is a one-party consent state. That's when he lunged, not at me at my phone. His hand caught my wrist, twisting hard enough that I heard something pop. The phone flew across the room, but it didn't matter. Everything was already in the cloud. Rick, stop! Mom screamed, but she didn't move to help. He shoved me backward into the wall, his forearm across my throat. You think you're smart. Think you can destroy me. I think you're violating a protective order. I gasped out. On camera. His eyes went to Tessa's phone, then to the window where Marla's car was visible. The realization hit him like cold water. Blue and red lights filled the driveway at 6:22 p.m. Rick released me, stepping back. You set me up. No, I said, rubbing my throat. You showed up where you were legally banned from being, after I confirmed in writing that you wouldn't be here. After being served papers yesterday. Detective Ortega entered with 2 uniformed officers, hands on their weapons. Mr. Mallory, step away from Ms. Lane. This is my house, and that's a valid protective order. Ortega's voice was steady. Hands behind your back. The cuffs clicked at 6:25 p.m., the same cuffs that would click again. And again. Stop resisting. Ortega's voice cut through Mom's screaming as Rick tried to wrench away from the officers. The body camera on Officer Mitchell's chest captured every second Rick throwing his weight sideways, cursing, spittle flying as he yelled about his rights. This is entrapment, Rick shouted, his face purple against the doorframe where they'd pinned him. She set me up, Denise. Tell them. Mom was sobbing now, mascara running in black streams. This is wrong. He lives here. You can't arrest a man in his own home. Ma'am, step back. The younger officer, badge reading Thompson, kept his hand raised between Mom and the arrest. Interfering with an arrest is a felony. Tessa hadn't moved from the couch, her phone still recording, live streaming to 600 viewers who were watching my family implode in real time. The comments flew past. OMG, call 911. Is this real? Your sister was right. Harper. Rick's eyes found mine, wild with rage. I'll fucking destroy you for this. You hear me when I get out. That's a threat? Mr. Mallory. Ortega interrupted calmly. In front of 3 officers. Would you like to add terroristic threatening to your charges? The GPS tracker on Rick's truck had been transmitting the whole time. I pulled up the app, showing Ortega the timeline. 5:43 at Murphy's Liquor, 6:12 pulling into this driveway. I have screenshots of my mother promising he wouldn't be here. Ortega nodded to Mitchell, who was photographing my fresh injuries, the already darkening handprint on my wrist, the red marks across my throat. We'll need you to come to the station for a full statement. She's not going anywhere. Mom stepped forward, but Thompson blocked her. This is still my house. Actually, I said, my voice hoarse from Rick's arm across my throat. It's Rick's house. His name is on the deed, right, which means when the judge extends the protective order, I won't be the one who can't come here. The realization dawned on Mom's face. If Rick couldn't be within 500 feet of me and I came to visit, he'd have to leave his own home. You planned this. Her voice was venomous. You evil little... Stop! Tessa finally spoke, her voice shaking. Just stop. Mom, Harper has bruises on her throat. Right now. Fresh ones. And you're defending him. Family stays together. This isn't family, I said, watching them lead Rick to the patrol car. This is enabling abuse. Outside, Marla had gotten out of her car, her phone still in her hand. 3 other neighbors had emerged, drawn by the lights and commotion. Mrs. Patterson from 2 doors down was recording too. By tomorrow, the whole neighborhood would know. Rick tried one more time as they put him in the patrol car, throwing his shoulder against the door. I know where you work, Harper. You can't hide behind papers. That's another threat, Ortega noted, typing into his tablet. And a violation of the order's no-contact provision. Judge Morrison is going to love this. At 6:41 p.m., the patrol car pulled away with Rick in the back. Mom stood in the doorway, looking smaller than I'd ever seen her. The award ceremony, Tessa said faintly. My award ceremony is in 2 hours. I'll be there, I told her, surprising myself. After I give my statement. You're not welcome, Mom spat. It's a public event, I replied, and I have a ticket. At the station, I provided everything. The recordings from tonight, audio and video, the GPS tracking data showing Rick's deliberate arrival, the text messages proving Mom's deception, Marla's dashcam footage showing Rick entering the house after seeing my car. This is textbook violation, Ortega said, organizing the evidence. He made a conscious choice to violate the order. The threats on camera are just icing. What happens now? Arraignment tomorrow morning. He'll likely get bail, but with conditions. The protective order will definitely be extended, probably enhanced. No firearms, mandatory anger management, possible ankle monitor. He owns guns, I said. 3. A Glock in his truck, a rifle in the bedroom closet, a shotgun in the garage. Ortega's expression darkened. You're sure? He showed them to me. Said it was so I'd know what he had if anyone tried to hurt his family. More typing. More forms. By the time I left the station at 8:15 p.m., Rick was facing charges that would stick violating a protective order, assault, criminal threats, and potential federal firearms violations once they discovered his concealed carry permit should have been revoked after his previous restraining order. I made it to Tessa's ceremony at 8:35. Mom saw me enter and her face went white with rage, but she couldn't make a scene. Not here. Not with all these people. Not with Tessa about to go on stage. I sat in the back, my throat still red, my wrist in a brace from the emergency room. When Tessa won her award for innovative digital marketing, I clapped. She found me afterward, mascara smudged but intact. Harper, I didn't know it was that bad. You live-streamed it, I reminded her. You saw it happen. I know, but... She struggled for words. It was easier to pretend it wasn't real. It's been real for 14 years, she nodded, looking younger than 24. What happens now? I showed her the case number Ortega had given me. Now, the law handles it, and Rick learns that some things can't be controlled with fists. The arraignment at 9 a.m. Friday morning was beautiful in its simplicity. Rick, in Orange County jail clothes instead of his HVAC uniform, looked smaller without his work boots and attitude. His court-appointed attorney, a tired-looking woman named Foster, had already seen the evidence. Your Honor, the prosecutor began, the state presents audio recordings of explicit threats, video evidence of assault, GPS data proving deliberate stalking, and multiple witnesses including law enforcement who observed the defendant violating an active protective order within 24 hours of being served. She clicked through her laptop, projecting the timeline I'd created with Dr. Wild's help onto the courtroom screen. 5 years condensed into bullet points, each one a nail in Rick's legal coffin. Additionally, we've discovered the defendant owns 3 firearms despite a previous restraining order from 2016 that should have triggered a prohibition. The ATF has been notified. Rick's face went white. Federal charges meant federal time. Judge Morrison, the same who'd signed my initial order, looked over her glasses at Rick. "Mr. Mallory, do you understand these charges?" "She set me up," Rick burst out, ignoring Foster's hand on his arm. "She came to my house." "Mr. Mallory," the judge's voice could have frozen water. "You were served a protective order Tuesday afternoon. Thursday evening, you appeared at a location where the protected party was present. Is this correct?" Foster whispered urgently in his ear. Rick's jaw clenched. "Yes." "Bail is set at $50,000. Conditions include GPS monitoring, surrender of all firearms within 24 hours, no alcohol, and the protective order is extended for 2 years. Any violation will result in immediate incarceration." 2 years, Rick shouted. "That bitch!" The gavel came down hard. "Contempt. Add 30 days. Mr. Mallory, I suggest you learn to control yourself before your trial." I filed the civil suit that afternoon. Ortega had recommended a lawyer, Sarah Brennan, who specialized in domestic violence cases. She'd taken one look at my evidence binder and smiled like a shark scenting blood. Medical bills, therapy costs, lost wages from court appearances. She listed, calculating, pain and suffering, emotional distress. "The live stream your sister made went viral, 400,000 views. That's public humiliation damages." "I don't want his money," I said. "No, you want his future money. Garnished wages for the next decade. Every paycheck he gets, you get a piece. Every job he takes, they'll know about this judgment." The deposition was scheduled for 3 weeks out, but first came Tuesday's criminal trial. Tessa was subpoenaed as a witness. The prosecution wanted her live stream entered as evidence, and she had to authenticate it. Mom tried to convince her not to appear, but subpoenas aren't suggestions. On the stand, Tessa looked miserable but told the truth. "That's my live stream. That's Rick grabbing Harper. That's him slamming her into the table." "Did you see the impact?" the prosecutor asked. Yes. Her head hit the edge." "What did your mother do?" Tessa's eyes found Mom in the gallery. "She gave Harper paper towels for the blood." The forensic nurse who'd examined me at the hospital testified next. She'd found old injuries, healed fractures in 2 fingers that I'd never gotten treated. Scar tissue consistent with repeated trauma. The photos Sylvia had taken were blown up on the screen. Each bruise measured and cataloged. Rick's attorney tried to argue it was a single incident, heat of the moment, a family disagreement gone wrong. Then the prosecutor played the audio from my pen recorder. Rick's voice filled the courtroom. "Next time you disrespect me, you won't walk away." The jury deliberated for 43 minutes. Guilty. Assault in the 2nd degree. Violation of a protective order. Criminal threatening. Sentencing would take another month, but the judge remanded Rick immediately. No bail this time. As they led him away, he turned to Mom. "Denise, don't let her—" "Mr. Mallory, no contact means no contact. That includes third parties." Mom left the courtroom without looking at me. The civil trial was almost anticlimactic. Rick, now in jail jumpsuit via video link, could barely contain his rage as my lawyer presented the receipts. 5 emergency room visits over 3 years. 16 documented incidents. The replay of Tessa's live stream, now with comments from viewers describing their horror. "I was defending my home," Rick insisted. "You were violating a protective order." Judge Chen replied. "Judgment for the plaintiff. $68,000 in damages, $20,000 in punitive damages, full medical costs, and ongoing therapy expenses. I don't have that money. Wage garnishment will begin upon your release from incarceration. 25% of gross income until satisfied." The best part came 3 weeks later. Rick's HVAC company did a lot of work for the county school system. Background checks were standard. A domestic violence conviction meant no more school contracts. His boss had to let him go. From jail, through his lawyer. Rick tried to negotiate, drop the civil judgment, and he'd agree to permanent no contact. Sarah laughed when she called me with the offer. He thinks he has leverage. His criminal sentencing is next week. Tell him no. At sentencing, the judge gave him 18 months. With good behavior, he'd be out in a year, but he'd emerge to no job, no gun rights, a permanent protective order, and wages garnished for the next decade. The final blow came from an unexpected source. The IRS, apparently, took interest in unreported cash jobs Rick had been doing for years. Seems someone had forwarded them recordings of him bragging about tax evasion. I wonder who that could have been. The Asheville Business Awards Gala was exactly the kind of event Rick would have hated successful people celebrating success that wasn't his. It was perfect. Tessa had been nominated for Rising Star in Digital Marketing 3 months after Rick's sentencing. She'd rebuilt her reputation after the viral live stream, turning it into a campaign about recognizing domestic violence. Brave, some called it opportunistic, I thought, but kept that to myself. The invitation she'd sent me was tentative, a olive branch wrapped in corporate cardstock. I understand if you can't come, but I'd like you there. I arrived at 7:45 p.m., wearing the kind of dress Rick had always said made me look like I was trying too hard. Navy blue, professional, expensive, bought with my first paycheck that didn't need to budget for concealer to hide bruises. The ballroom at the Grand Bohemian was packed with Asheville's business elite. I spotted Mom near the stage, rigid in her gold cocktail dress, pretending to laugh at someone's joke. She'd aged 5 years in the 6 months since Rick's conviction. Good. I had the civil judgment papers in my clutch. Sarah had expedited the service for tonight. Specifically, Rick would be served at 8:30 p.m., right when Tessa's category was announced. He'd been released 4 days ago, early for good behavior. His ankle monitor meant he couldn't come within 500 feet of me, but the gala was at 490 feet from the halfway house where he was staying. He'd risk it. I knew he would. At 8:23 p.m., I saw him, baseball cap pulled low, standing by the service entrance where the catering vans were parked. His angle gave him a view of the stage without technically entering the venue, still violating the protective order by being that close to me, but trying to be clever about it. I texted Ortega, "He's here, service entrance." His response was immediate. "Units en route, document everything." The presenter was calling Tessa's name as I made my way to the lobby, staying visible through the glass doors. Rick saw me. Our eyes met across 400 feet of parking lot. He started walking toward the entrance. I held up my phone, obviously recording. He kept coming. The security guard, who I'd alerted earlier with a copy of the protective order, stepped forward. "Sir, you can't—" "I'm here for the award ceremony," Rick said loudly. "It's a public event. With a private guest list," the guard replied, hand on his radio. That's when the process server appeared, a tiny woman with a briefcase who'd been waiting by the valet stand. "Richard Mallory." Rick turned, confused. "Yeah, you've been served." She handed him the papers and took his picture holding them, all while backing away quickly. He opened them right there, under the spotlight of the hotel's entrance. I couldn't hear the words, but I saw his face go from confusion to rage, to something beyond rage, a kind of broken fury that made him look exactly like what he was, a man who'd lost everything. The police cars pulled up at 8:31 p.m. Lights on, but no sirens. Professional. Discreet enough not to completely ruin the gala. Obvious enough that everyone noticed. "Protective order violation," Ortega said, stepping out of the unmarked car. Again, while on probation. This time, Rick didn't fight. He stood there, papers still in his hand, as they cuffed him for what I knew would be the last time. Probation violation meant serving the full original sentence, plus new charges. 3 years, minimum. Through the glass doors, I saw Tessa on stage, accepting her award, the microphone in her trembling hand. Mom was watching Rick get arrested instead of her daughter's moment of triumph. The poetry of it was almost too perfect. "Harper!" Rick's voice was broken as they led him past me. Why, I thought about 14 years of birthdays forgotten, of bruises explained away, of being made small so he could feel big. I thought about Dr. Wild teaching me to say enough instead of "I'm fine." "Because I could," I said simply. They put him in the car at 8:35 p.m., the last time I'd ever have to see him. Ortega handed me his card with a case number written on the back. "The federal firearms charges just got approved," he said quietly. "With the tax evasion and his priors, he's looking at federal time after state. Maybe a decade total." I walked back into the gala as Tessa was finishing her speech. She saw me in the back, faltered for just a moment, then continued. Mom had disappeared, probably following the police cars, still choosing Rick even as they drove him away. When the evening ended, Tessa found me at the coat check. "He was here, wasn't he?" she asked. "Not anymore." She nodded slowly. "Is it over?" "It's been over since the night he hit me and I said enough. Everything else was just paperwork." We stood there, two sisters who would probably never be close, but who had finally seen the same truth. She went her way. I went mine. My phone buzzed as I reached my car, a text from an unknown number that must have been from Mom. "I hope you're satisfied." I deleted it without responding and drove home to my apartment where no one would ever hit me again, where my birthday would be remembered, where I was enough, just as I was. The restraining order lives in my filing cabinet now, next to my lease, and my insurance papers just another document that proves I exist. But the real proof is simpler. I'm here. Rick's not. And that's enough. Thank you so much for listening to my story today. I'd love to know where you're tuning in from. Please drop a comment below and let's connect. If this story resonated with you, please consider subscribing to the channel and sharing your thoughts. Your experiences and perspectives matter, and I read every single comment. Until next time, stay strong.